Hi everybody, Amber Lee with Plant Joy, and I'm here at Monkey Bar Gym today, and I'm going to be going through a couple of recipes. The first recipe we're going to do today is dill rice. I know it sounds kind of simple. You're like, dill, do I like dill? Do I love dill? Do I even know dill? Most people know dill because it's in pickles and we pickle with it, but I love dill and it's so simple, and we're going to use it in this rice dish today. So there's a few ingredients that are going to be in our dish that I just want to roll through. First, dill. I have dry dill that I've gotten, buy it in the bag, super easy. I grow it in the season, but during the winter I do use the dry version. We're going to be using some brown rice. This is just a basmati rice. It is a longer grain, so I really like that. We are going to be putting in some green onions, also known as scallions, yellow onion, a little bit more mild. We've got garlic that's gonna go in there, and then we are going to top it off with homemade vegetable broth, which cost me absolutely nothing to reconstruct. And then we'll top it off with a little salt and pepper, and it is gonna be so simple, so delicious, and you're gonna love it. So let's get going. All right, so we're gonna start by cutting our onions. I like to, there's a million ways that you can cut the onion, but I like to cut the ends off, flip it around. We're gonna save these for the homemade veggie broth that we're gonna make later, so we're gonna put them aside. So I like to lay the onion flat. Anytime you have a round object, you wanna go ahead and flatten it. It's gonna help stabilize that. So we're gonna cut it in half. Now, you can see it helps that skin on the onion will peel off way easier than having to just chop it with a knife and get after it. So, the way I like to cut an onion is first, know that there are already lines in the onion. So we're gonna use that to our favor. So I'm gonna come in here using my bear claw so I don't chop my fingers off, and I'm gonna slice, but then I'm gonna make sure I hold on to that. Come back, slice again. And I'm making nice, small lines, and then I'm gonna turn the onion and think of it like a nice sunshine, right? And I'm gonna come in here on the angle and we're gonna make little cuts. When I get to the 90 degrees, I'm gonna roll it over, and then we're gonna keep coming down. If you're left-handed, you would just simply go the other way. And it helps, and you can see, look how beautifully that just chopped up the onion there for us. And we let the onion do a lot of the work for us. Now we're gonna go ahead and attack a garlic clove. Favorite way to get after it, because it has that skin on it, right? Obviously this one's coming off a little easy, but let's pretend it didn't. What we wanna do is you wanna turn the garlic over. You're gonna use your knife, the back side of it, and I'm basically gonna use my arm. And then what it does is it cracks it, and then it just allows that skin to peel right off. Working smarter, not harder. The other reason you wanna crack the garlic and then we're gonna just dice it here, is because we're activating the oil properties in there. And so there is allicin. Allicin is an anti-cancerous property that is in onions. It's also in garlic, and it's why I eat the heck out of them. So we're gonna saute this down, and it's gonna go in our rice, so we don't have to get it super minced down. That's gonna be perfect for right now. If we want stronger garlic, you want to cut it up and keep it more minced because you're activating more of the allicin ingredient. However, if you want your garlic more mild, you want to leave it in bigger shapes like this. Just a little nerdy tip there for you. I like my garlic strong, so we're going to go ahead and chop it up a lot. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and dice up our scallions. These are super easy because they're small, already kind of in bite-sized pieces already. So I went ahead and cleaned these. Sometimes they have a little bit of a skin here that you wanna go ahead and kind of remove. Just pull that off. We're gonna cut this end off anyways, but sometimes it's a little slimy and feels weird, so just get rid of that. Especially if you have people in the kitchen, it's gonna freak out. We're gonna go ahead and cut off these white ends. Once again, these are items perfect for our homemade veggie broth, and we're gonna save those. I'm gonna use these just as is. We're gonna couple them together, and I'm gonna come in here with the knife, and we're gonna make small little dices. Now you can see these scallions are going all different directions, so it's pretty challenging for me to hold that. So now what I wanna do is kind of reposition them in my hand, making sure I can have a bear claw, and then as I cut, I slide my fingers back and keep working backwards. It's a sure way to make sure you don't cut off one of your fingers, which is really important. And look at that, beautiful. Doesn't have to be perfect, it's just going in your belly. All right, so we're gonna use our pressure cooker today to cook our rice super fast and in 7 quick minutes. And what we're gonna do first is we're gonna start with the saute function right there. It's in the high, more mode. There's also normal and a low mode. So if you wanted a low heat saute, you could do that. We're gonna use high heat saute. That beep is letting me know that it's up to temperature and it's gonna be ready to go. So what our recipe calls for is a little bit of oil. What I would recommend, since we're using a high heat, is that you use a high heat oil. So sunflower oil, canola, or grapeseed are 3 good high heat oils. You want to stay away from olive oil when you're using high heat. It burns really quickly and it becomes rancid, which becomes toxic in our bodies. So olive oil is good at low temp. High heat, we're going to use sunflower. But today we're going no oil. So if you're using oil, this is a good option. Today we're going to skip it all together, and I'm going to show you how you can use water in a little squirt bottle just like this, and it's going to wet the bottom of the pan, and then we're going to get it going. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take all of those onions that we chopped up and we're going to put them in here. You can see the steam coming off. And those are gonna go in there and we're gonna let them start coming up to temperature. Basically, we're gonna saute the onions. We wanna get them to a translucent color, and that's gonna tell me, it's a visual cue that those are done. We're gonna add in our garlic here momentarily. We wanna wait and let these cook for maybe 3 to 5 minutes first, depending on your temperature, and then we add in the garlic. If you add the garlic in too soon, it's gonna burn, and we definitely don't want burned garlic. It'll taste bad, it goes bitter, and it also can become rancid. You wanna skip that. So if you can hear this, they're starting to talk to me and tell me that they are working. All right, so you can see the steam coming, and so what's happening is these are starting to stick to the bottom because we didn't use oil. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna use this water, and it's gonna create a lift. So basically what's gonna happen is the onions are gonna start to caramelize, and then they're gonna glaze up the bottom of the pan, and that's gonna turn like brown and look maybe dirty. That is your flavor. So what we're gonna do is let these onions caramelize a little, then we're gonna use the water again, instead of the oil, no calories in our water. You could also use veggie broth, and then we're gonna deglaze the bottom of that, and all of that is our flavor that's gonna mix in with the onions. That's then gonna go into our dill rice. So those are looking good. I'm gonna go ahead and add in our garlic right now. Now, even if you had done oil, you would have only used a tablespoon of the oil, and that's fine. But then, in order to pick up the deglaze it, you would still want to use water. What most people do is they keep adding more oil to keep that pan moist, and what you're doing is you're adding 100% fat into the meal. Rice is healthy, it has really minimal calories, and we want to keep it that way. We just want to add high flavor, not a lot of fat and calories. So, come on in here and take a look at this. You can see these guys are getting nice and yellow. They are starting to caramelize on their own. And here's what I say about the oil piece. If you put yourself next to fire, you'll burn. And that's what's happening to these onions. They're going next to a heat source and they're starting to get hot. If I went and stood next to the fire, I'd start to sweat, just like these onions are doing. So we don't want to let them burn, but we do want to get that nice caramelization. All right, so you can see there's starting to be some caramelization that's taking place here. Most people would say, oh no, the pan is burning. Watch this. Add some water, the color changes, we push the onions in there, and now we're gonna have brown caramelized onions. And we didn't have to use any oil, and we're using all of that flavor coming up off the bottom. I'm spinning the pan around inside the pressure cooker, making it easy for myself. And I look at those and I think those onions are caramelized, they're perfect, they smell absolutely delicious, and we're ready to do the rice. All right, we're gonna add in the scallions here right before we put the rice in because they're really tender and we don't want them to cook down too long. So we're adding those in. I've already got my rice pre-measured out. Anytime you use grains, you wanna make sure that you rinse them off and get any type of residue, sand, they were stored and shipped somewhere. So make sure you're getting them cleaned. We rinsed these already. This is 1.5 cups of basmati rice. We're gonna dump that straight in. And then we're gonna basically double our liquid, 1¼ cup of basmati rice, which is gonna mean 2½ cups of our vegetable broth. So I'm gonna go ahead and dump this in. 2½. We're gonna go ahead and add in a pinch of salt in there. I like to put salt and pepper in here because what's gonna happen is the pressure cooker is like a little incubator for flavor. And anytime you add in any type of spices, salt and pepper included, what's gonna happen is they are going to then incubate together. It's all those flavors are just gonna be immersed. It's gonna be delicious. So we're gonna go ahead and close this up. 7 minutes and she'll be done. All right, so we're gonna have all the ingredients in there and we're gonna put it on manual. And so here I use the manual button on the Instapot and it's already set to 7, but if I needed 8, I could increase it, I could decrease it. So we're gonna leave it at 7 minutes and we're gonna let it do its work. We're gonna make sure that the valve up here is closed. And this little red knob, if you can, or pink, red, whatever, this knob, what it does is when this cavity has come up to pressure, this is going to pop up and it won't allow us to open it, and it's a safety precaution. Ideally, when it's done and the pressure has released from this, this will stay depressed like that and it will allow us, 1, it will tell us it's ready, 2, it will allow us to open it at that time. So we're gonna check back with this lady in 7 minutes and see how our dill rice is. All right, so the rice is just finished, and I know this because the little pink pressure button has depressed, it's flat again. Now I can open it up. And if you come over here and take a look, you're gonna see that the rice gets a little bit of a curl on the end of it. Basmati is a longer rice. So when it has that little bit of a curl on the edge, it tells me it is done. So it's talking to me. You can see that the onion and the scallion has moved to the top, and we're gonna go ahead and just lightly mix it. I'm gonna add in our dill, 3½ tablespoons. It's a good amount of dill. And you might be thinking, wow, that seems like a lot. If you're not a dill person, go with cilantro, go with parsley. But dill is super good and it's gonna work really nicely with the onion, the garlic that we've got going on here. All right, this looks so delicious. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and spoon some into my little plate. You can see it's so beautiful. It's got the dill in there, it's seasoned nicely. You can see a little bit of the onion chopped in there. If you wanted to, we could sprinkle a little bit more salt on it, but I don't think it's needed. The dill really just punches it up a whole lot. Garlic's in there. And if you wanted more garlic, more salt, dill, pepper, any of that, you could add it on now and kind of spice it up a little bit at the table. This is so easy, so simple. This was 1½ cups of rice. Look at all this leftover rice. This could be the base for a bowl that I'm gonna make all week. I could use this in anything, a curry. All week long, I could keep eating this rice. This is our dill rice for right now. I hope you enjoyed it. Check out the recipe. It's gonna be on my website, plantjoy.net. In the meantime, get out there and plant some joy.